Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Taptakan Chanagourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Dishatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Dharmendra Prabhu, just to understand, the devotees in the last session have read this whole chapter and the purports.
We haven't read the purports, but what we do is read the translation and the Sanskrit text.
Okay, and y'all did that in the previous section?
On Tuesday, yes.
Okay, all right. So everyone should be familiar about the contents of this very interesting chapter. We shall, let me just get my slides right. I've prepared some slides just to, what's a presentation without some slides? Okay. So chapter 6, Canto 6, chapter number 13, chapter entitled Indra, Afflicted by Sinful Reaction. So a very interesting chapter, also very relevant. And we shall discuss why it's relevant to all of us. Sometimes when we read and study Srimad Bhagavatam, we look at what we are reading from a third-person point of view, which is fine, but it's always more beneficial for us as we go through the Bhagavatam to ask ourselves the question constantly, how is this relevant to me and my spiritual life? What lessons can I take away that I can learn and help me develop and grow in my spiritual life? So, having read the chapter last week, on Tuesday, I'm sure many of you have been having different thoughts and different realizations about the contents of this chapter. I would at some point like to hear them. But let me share some of the presentations we've got. So let's start off with an overview. So this chapter is a relatively short chapter. It's 23 verses. It's being narrated by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, and it forms part of the whole pastime of the killing of Vritrasura. Now, this whole pastime exemplifies something very interesting that Srila Vyasadeva does in the Bhagavatam to emphasize how bhakti triumphs everything else. Srila Vyasadeva employs I wouldn't say technique, but a style called role reversals. Traditionally in the Bhagavatam, Brahmanas are greater than Kshatriyas. Men are greater than women. Demigods are greater than demons. And so on. But we see in the Bhagavatam something very strange. Children becoming greater than adults. The pastime of Prahlad Maharaj. Women becoming greater than their husbands. The pastimes of the wives of the Brahmanas. Demons becoming greater than demigods. And this is the pastime here. And Kshatriyas becoming greater than Brahmanas. And it's Bali Maharaj and Vamanadev. So in this particular pastime, which is so interesting, we see something quite extraordinary happening when Indra is engaging in the fight with Vritrasura. You know, there's a point where Indra becomes dejected, and Vritrasura, the demons, starts to preach to him and tell him, why are you morose? You are a devotee of the Lord. You should fight with full confidence and vigor. And Indra saying, well, that's easy for you to say because you're a devotee. Because Indra picked up during this whole experience with Vritrasura that he was just not an ordinary demon. He was a devotee actually disguised or for some reason or the other appearing as a demon. So Vyasadeva does this throughout the Bhagavatam simply to emphasize how bhakti triumphs everything. The varnas, the ashrams, the social orders, the customs. Bhakti always wins. So this chapter is broken up into four parts. First, we see Parikshit Maharaj inquiring how about Indra's unhappiness, because this is quite unusual. Normally, we know whenever big and great and troublesome demons are killed, the demigods celebrate. Even when Krishna kills the demons, they always play musical instruments and they shower flowers and they say Jai. But this is quite an extraordinary situation. Indra is not happy at all. And Parikshit asks, why is he not happy? And that prompts Shukdev Goswami to give a very beautiful narration, ending up with a very beneficial falashruti at the end for all of us. So Parikshit wants to know, why is Indra unhappy? And then Shukdev Goswami explains that previously Indra, he had killed another Brahmana, and he was very, very afraid to do it again. But besides him being afraid, the sages encouraged him. They said, don't worry, if there's any problem, if there's any reaction, we will cater, we will disempower, or we'll clear you out of those reactions. And Indra went and complied. And then, despite all of the assurances given to Indra, he still found himself in this terrible situation where he was being plagued by a sinful reaction of killing a Brahmana. And as we see in the Vedas, everything is personified. There's nothing impersonal. There's nothing impersonal about the Vedas. So even sinful reaction, like how we read in the Bhagavatam, Dharma is personified as the bull. Once, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, who spoke Sri Ishupanishad? And Prabhupada said, Sri Ishupanishad was spoken by the Vedas personified. So everything is personal about the culture of bhakti. The mountains personified, dharma is personified, even sin is personified. So sin personified harassed Indra. And when one is harassed and one is put in such a difficult situation, then one has to take some shelter. So Vritrasura was killed. The demigods went to their abode. No one spoke to Indra, but Indra was unhappy. And Indra was suffering. You can see he was chased by this horrible personification of sin as an old woman who was fraught with tuberculosis and was coughing blood. And she was chasing Indra. And for many reasons, when someone has tuberculosis, the first thing we do is we try to keep our distance. So Indra was in a difficult position. And this personification of sin was, a garment, a body. She was covered in blood and she was breathing an unbearable fishy odor and polluted the entire street. So Indra was like really in trouble. And we read that where did he take shelter? He went and took shelter in this lake. And for 1,000 years, and this was the lake of Lakshmi Devi, for 1,000 years he hid in the stem of a lotus. Not only hiding, but he was without any food. Because Varuna couldn't come into this lake. Sorry, Agni couldn't come into this lake and give him the benefits of any yajna. So he was in a terrible suffering position. And to top it all, he had left the heavenly kingdom. Nahusha was the second in charge, took over. And Nahusha, he started to lust after Indra's wife. But eventually Indra's sins were diminished by the influence of Rudra, he was protected. And he was relieved of his sinful reactions, eventually by worshipping Vishnu. And he went back to his heavenly kingdom, and he was reinstated in his position. So it started off very badly. It endured very badly, but it ended well for me, relatively well for Indra. So let us discuss some of these salient points of this chapter. What do we take away? What are some of the lessons we learned? So sometimes when the living entities go through a really difficult experience, and in particular, the pious living entities and sometimes the devotees, that is often referred to as the dark night of the soul. I'm not sure if any of you have heard this terminology, but it's called the dark night of the soul, where the soul goes through, some really trying, difficult times, and having to come out of it. A lot of us, most of us, will experience these dark nights. The nature of this material world is at some point in time, the material nature will kick us in the teeth, as Prabhupada says, either through our relationship, through our finances, through our body, adhyatmik, adhibautik, adhidevik. And we'll go through a dark night, meaning, we may find ourselves sliding in a space where we just do not know how to come out. Arjuna found himself in that situation in the Bhagavad Gita. He was completely perplexed, didn't know what to do. And Krishna had to rescue him from the dark experience he was going through. In the Bhagavatam, we also read of another personality who had a very similar experience to the experience that Indra is going through now. He went through a very dark night, and we have read it. Who can recall who went through this dark night of the soul?
Yudhishthira Maharaj.
Yes, Yudhishthira Maharaj. In the 8th chapter of the first canto, there is explained that Yudhishthira Maharaj, after the battle of Kurukshetra, it said that King Yudhishthira was so much aggrieved, he could not be convinced despite instructions by great sages headed by Vyas and Lord Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, and despite all historical evidence. So he was in such a dark place. Even Vedavyas, Mahamuni Vedavyas, couldn't bring him out. Even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, couldn't lift Yudhishthira out. King Yudhishthira, the son of Dharma, overwhelmed by the death of his friends, was grieved, just like a common materialistic man. O sages, thus deluded by affection, he began to speak. King Yudhishthira said, "O my lot, I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart, which is full of ignorance. This body, which is ultimately meant for others, has killed many, many phalanxes of men." And here is a really important parallel. I have killed many boys, brahmanas, well-wishers, friends, parents, preceptors, and brothers. Though I live millions of years, I will not be relieved from the hell that waits me for these sins. There is no sin for a king who kills for the right cause, who is engaged in maintaining his citizens, but this injunction is not applicable to me. I've killed many friends of women, and I've caused enmity to such an extent that is not possible to undo it by material welfare work, as it is not possible to filter muddy water through mud or purify a wine-stained pot with wine. It is not possible to counteract the killing of men by sacrificing animals. So Indra, he found himself in this difficult position. It is said, and Lord Chaitanya has said, that of all types of reactions we get from sinful reactions, we get the heaviest, the most detrimental reaction we can get is through sadhuninda, is through offending the devotees or the Lord or the Brahmanas. The devotees of the Lord are the Brahmanas. Krishna is known as the protector of the Brahmanas. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Itayacha. So there are three types of offenses: mental, verbal, and physical. Generally in Kali Yuga, it is said, we do not get the reactions of mental offenses because our minds are just so contaminated in this Kali Yuga. There's just so many horrible things that go through the minds of those who live in Kali Yuga. So that little dispensation is there. But caution is given by the acharyas that we normally, if it stays too much in the mind, it will manifest in words and in physical action. So best try to even curb the mental offenses. And the next is verbal. And the final is physical. So Indra had killed, and he had become aware of it. He had killed not only a Brahmana. We know from our understanding that higher than a Brahmana is a Vaishnav. He was, Vritrasura was King Chitraketu, who had become a great devotee. So it was very precarious. Now it's interesting to also analyze these parallel situations where Yudhishthira Maharaj was in a very similar situation to Indra. And what was the prescription given to Yudhishthira Maharaj to come out of it? Or what plan did Krishna make to bring Yudhishthira Maharaj out of it? And what was the prescription given to Indra? It's interesting also to understand that there are different types of sins, sinful reactions. Actually, it's different types of sinful reactions. And this is explained by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion. In the beginning of the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami explains 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. And the first characteristic is, who can remember the Sanskrit term? Kleshagni. Kleshagni. So the first characteristic of pure devotional service, Kleshagni, is that pure devotional service brings immediate relief from material distress. And then Srila Rupa Goswami goes on to explain that how does material distress manifest. First, he talks about avidya, ignorance, and then he talks about papam, sinful reaction. We suffer in this world because of our sinful reactions. And he explains that there is two types of sinful reactions, prarabdha and aparabdha, manifest reactions and unmanifested reactions. And the manifested reactions is someone is just going through some challenges. And the unmanifested can manifest in two ways. One is direct or physical, emotional suffering. That's the manifested. And then the unmanifested, it's the seed. It's the proclivity to commit sin. And it's very, very difficult. No process can get rid of the seed. Like in the Bhagavatam, we read that after Shukdev Goswami had explained the suffering of the living entities in the other planets, Parikshit Maharaj, being a very compassionate Vaishnava, he asked Shukdev Goswami, how can these souls that are suffering so much come out of the suffering? And Shukdev Goswami, he was testing Parikshit Maharaj. He said, oh, they can come out of it through prayaschitta, through atonement. And there are different methods of atonement. And then Maharaj Parikshit, being very wise, he rejected that. And what did he say? He said, we see those people who atone. Oftentimes we find them repeating the same sinful act. And he gave the example of the elephant. The elephant goes, he takes a bath, and as soon as it comes out of the water, it sprinkles mud again. And he called that like the elephant. And Shukdev Goswami was very happy. And he said, it's only bhakti. It's only bhakti that can destroy the seed. Like if we have seeds and we throw the seed in the ground, then those seeds, sometimes they'll grow and sprout into little plants. But if you put the seed in a frying pan, you fry the seeds, you roast it, you toast it. Those seeds, if you throw on the ground, they will never sprout. They will never sprout. Because the process of bhakti is so powerful. Bhakti is so powerful that bhakti destroys even the proclivity to sin. And therefore, bhakti is known as kleshagni. It's one of the characteristics, the very first characteristic that Srila Rupa Goswami glorifies in the Nectar of Devotion. So, sinful reactions are very, very detrimental to spiritual life. Prabhupada says, to approach the supremely pure, we have to become pure. We have to become cleansed of all types of sinful reactions. And we have been in this material world for so many unlimited lifetimes. You cannot even count. And we've got such a huge stock of sinful reactions that weigh us down like a mountain. So, Krishna speaks about this in the Bhagavad Gita also. And Krishna talks about karma, and Krishna talks about the gunas. The first thing Krishna explains is how we are trapped in this material world and how we come out of that entrapment. So coming back to this point, so what was the prescription given to Indra? He said that he should perform the yajna. And yajna is meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Bhaktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the peace formula. The peace formula is to perform yagya. And Krishna says, without yagya, there can be no happiness, there can be no peace. But yagya should be performed for the pleasure of Vishnu, for Krishna. And, when Krishna is pleased, then Krishna has the power to free us from all sinful reaction. Only Krishna has that power. So Indra became free. And we see in the instance of Yudhishthir Maharaj, he came out of that by getting instruction, by hearing Krishna Katha, by hearing instructions from Bhishma Dev. He became enlightened, Jnana Dipena. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, darkness, destroy this darkness with the lamp of knowledge. Jnana Dipena, Krishna says. Knowledge is like a lamp. Knowledge can dispel the darkness we find out. So when the soul finds itself in a dark position, but not any type of knowledge, the knowledge of bhakti. So we see here and we learn through this example of Indra that committing an offense against a Vaishnava or a Brahmana incurs the greatest sinful reaction. And that sinful reaction is very difficult. And we see Indra too, he was, Prabhupada talks about this. When the Brahmanas told him, no, you do the sin, and then we'll perform the Ashvamedha Yagya. Prabhupada, he talks about the holy name being so powerful, but Prabhupada also draws caution. We hear in the scriptures, we are chanting the Hare Krishna. We hear that the Mahamantra is so powerful that it can completely destroy more sins than we can even commit. And if one thinks, okay, in my life, I can, be a little casual about it, and not too concerned about reactions because I chant the holy name and become freed. But he said, worse than any offense, if we do any offense, the holy name can save us. But if we offend the holy name, then there is no hope. So one of the offenses is the holy name is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. Meaning, we have this mentality that yes, even if I sin, the holy name will rescue me. No. Prabhupada warns us against this in the purport. The holy name is very merciful, but we should not take advantage of the holy name. So in the final verse of this this chapter, which maybe I should go through it, it's a very interesting Falashtuti.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
How can you please give an example of how we misuse the holy name?
How we misuse the holy name.
The way you were explaining, just I'm not getting the exact word, but you said holy name can save us, but if we misuse it or something like that, and if you can give some example, it will be clear. Thank you.
Okay, just take a simple example. You know, there are so many things we can do wrong. Say, suppose, I mean, we generally won't think of this, but, we may steal something or take something that we should not be taking, and we are aware that we will get some reaction for that. And then we think, oh, never mind. The holy name is very kind. I will chant and I'll become absolved of that sin. Or if one thing offends a Vaishnav, a devotee of the Lord, one insults a devotee of the Lord, or one physically hits a devotee of the Lord, and then one thinks, I know there's going to be a reaction for that because the scriptures are very clear, but I will chant the holy name and I will become absolved of that sin. That's the type of mentality that we should guard against. Thinking, we have this powerful holy name of Krishna. We know it can destroy any reaction. And then we become a little, how can I say, we abuse the holy name by not being strict, by not being careful. Something accidentally, something else. But, we do something premeditated and thinking, anyway, I will chant and I'll become free. Does that make sense to you, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. That's nice.
Okay. So the final verse is a very interesting verse. It's called the Falashruti. Falashruti. And it is said that in this very great narrative, there is glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. There are statements about the exaltedness of devotional service. There are descriptions of devotees like Indra and Vritrasura. And there are statements about King Indra's release from sinful life and about his victory in fighting the demons. By understanding this incident, one is relieved from all sinful reactions. Therefore, the learned are always advised to read this narration. If one does so, one will become expert in the activities of the senses, his opulence will increase, and his reputation will become widespread. One will also be relieved of all sinful reactions. He will conquer all his enemies, and the duration of his life will increase. Because this narration is auspicious in all respects, learned scholars regularly hear and repeat it on every festival day. Now, if we analyze this, there are so many interesting points in this Falastuti. In one sense, it summarizes the chapter. So let's just look at it. I mean, the first thing Prabhupada says here, that Prabhupada doesn't say it's a great narrative. Prabhupada says this is a very great narrative. There is glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. How is there glorification? The glorification is very simple. That simply by pleasing the Lord, all auspiciousness enters our life, and all inauspicious is removed from our lives. Indra was in a very inauspicious situation, but by pleasing the Lord and through yagya, he became free of his sinful reaction. And it is said it exalts devotional service. Now, this one we can look at it from different angles. How is this incident exalting devotional service? It's exalting devotional service by exalting the devotee in the first. And how is a devotee exalted? By showing that by offending a devotee, even the king of the heavenly planets has to suffer so much. Because the devotee is so dear to Krishna. And the devotee is so dear to Krishna because of his devotional service. And then there are statements about Indra's relief from sinful life and about his victory in fighting the demons. By understanding this incident, one is relieved of all sinful reactions. So Prabhupada chooses his words so carefully, so carefully. Prabhupada does not just say, by hearing this incident, one is relieved. Prabhupada says it by understanding this incident. Understanding means one extracts the essence of why this chapter is so glorified. And essentially, it's so glorified because the devotee is glorified, devotional service is glorified, the Lord is glorified. This is what we should understand. But then the next part is something very interesting. And, we read Dharma Projita Kaitavatra in the second verse of the Bhagavatam, that this Srimad Bhagavatam completely rejects all cheating religion which is materially motivated. And it propounds the highest truth, which is devotional service. But then, what is the phala, the fruit that is propagated here? It says here, what's the first thing you will happen? We'll become expert in the activities of the senses. What's going on here? One is on the genuine spiritual path, has absolutely no interest or desire in becoming expert in the activities of the senses. And we'll examine this. We can look at it two ways. And secondly, his opulence will increase. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I don't want any wealth. I don't want any followers. I don't want any beautiful woman. And yet the phala is opulence will be increased. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, fame and reputation for a devotee, it's like stool. It's like stool. A devotee will never seek fame or reputation. And yet the phala is reputation will become widespread. He will conquer his enemies. The duration of his life will increase. The devotee is not really interested or desiring a long life of sense gratification. So it begs the question then, what's going on here? Why is Shukdev Goswami giving these fruits which a devotee will normally detest, which Bhagavatam completely rejects, completely rejecting all religion which is materially motivated. So why do you think, dear devotees, these phalas are being spoken about? Anyone like to say?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to you, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna
My
Mataji.
Dandavat pranams to you, Prabhuji. I don't know what to say. It's such a beautiful chapter. I'm just thinking, all these opulences, I just only want to add one prefix to it,
Mhm.
and that is spiritual. transcendental into that. So all those which we are, because our mind is so materialistic, we are thinking about materialistic opulence, materialistic what do you call that? What's the first one you said, probably?
Become expert in
Sensory.
Yeah.
So maybe you become expert in sensory in the sensory whatever the sense organs, that you don't do the wrong things, you do the right things. Maybe I'm thinking in that way. And so materialistic things are obviously you're doing for the wrong thing, for your own sense gratification you're doing. But in this one, you'll become an expert of Krishna's sense gratification. So you will start thinking in that sense. This is what I'm thinking. And then also you might become an expert in not doing those things which you would do in a materialistic way. I'm thinking that way. And opulences, yes, I mean, you see so many of our Vaishnava devotees, they become so popular, but they are spreading the word of Krishna. So that way the opulence of them is increasing, because you are increasing Krishna's opulence. So indirectly, you're being in that association. So your opulence is, you're being in that association of increasing the opulence. So your opulence is increasing, is what I'm thinking. What's the third one you said, Prabhuji? Four things you said. Repetition. Again, this follows same thing.
Yeah.
So if what's the fourth one?
Duration of his life.
Duration. Yes, you need to live long, because you are the messenger of God and you are trying to enhance Krishna consciousness into other people. So you need people like this to propagate Krishna consciousness, to propagate the word of Krishna. So that's why you have to live long. If your life is shortened, then that goes off with you. You're still in the materialistic life. So in that way, this is what my thought process is. But Prabhuji, I'm very sorry. It may be totally wrong.
That's a very Krishna conscious way of looking at these benedictions. So essentially what you're saying, Mataji, is any benediction can be used in Krishna's service. If those benedictions are used for our own benefit, then we'll go down.
Yeah.
But if those benedictions are all used in Krishna's service, it can still elevate our consciousness. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I was meaning. Anything for Krishna, and anything for you, it is not good. Anything for Krishna, it's fine.
That's very nice. Sadev, Prabhu, or Mataji, you also like to add something?
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you very much, Manka Mataji. Yes.
I need to ask question. Is it okay to ask question?
Yeah, okay, yeah. You ask now, and then I'll complete the point. Yes, ask Mataji.
I can wait for my question. It's okay.
Okay,
I wait.
let's finish this point, and I'll come back to you.
Yes. Thank
Okay. So we can look at it from two perspectives. Why Shukdev Goswami is giving this benediction. One is all of these benedictions, if used in Krishna service, can elevate our consciousness. Also, you know, the nature of a Vaishnava is they're always thinking how to benefit the conditioned souls, how to purify them, how to elevate their consciousness. Now, conditioned souls generally, you know, they're not so attracted by giving some promotion spiritually. You know, if you tell them that when you become a devotee, that Krishna will take everything away from you and give himself, I think, oh, how abominable. They are attracted by material things. So Shukdev Goswami is trying to appeal to those, because he knows, Shukdev Goswami knows, that if they hear the Krishna Katha, they hear the narrations about the activities about the Lord and his devotees, they will become purified. They will become purified. So let's snare them in. Let's trap them by, you know, by giving them this phalas, because gradually by hearing, they will get purified. Prabhupada tells the story of a thief. Once he joined a yatra with all the pilgrims, and his intention was to steal. And quite often when you go on yatra, you come back and you see your shoes are gone. So his business was to steal shoes and then sell them and make a living out of it. So he was acting like one of the pilgrims. And when he was going on pilgrimage with the pilgrims, he would be hearing the katha, the Krishna katha at every holy place, every tirtha, and he was becoming purified. But he was in a dilemma. He couldn't help himself. His proclivity to steal was so great. But what he did then, he couldn't help himself. He mixed all of the shoes. He mixed everybody's shoes. He moved this shoe here, he moved that shoe. And next morning, the people came, they were looking for the shoes, it's gone. And the Muslims said, no, your shoe is there. So they went and saw the shoe there and then found another shoe there. Then the sadhu was giving the katha. He said, who's been doing this? Please speak up or you will incur a sinful reaction. And then the thief came and he said, you know what, I joined the yatra because I came to steal. But by hearing the katha, I became purified. But at the same time, I couldn't help myself. So I mixed these shoes around, but I didn't want to steal it. So the same way, people will be attracted by this phalas. They'll come and they'll hear this thing on every festival day. They'll hear this katha, and gradually, Shrinvata Swagatam Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtanam, Hridayantasto Ibadrani, Vidanoti Suritsatam. They Shrinvanta Swagatam Krishna. By hearing these messages of Krishna, they'll become purified. So that's the point I wanted to make and close. Mataji, you can ask your question now.
Hare Krishna, and thank you very, very much for today's class. You talk about how the Yudhishthira has so many to think and feel bad about things that he felt that he have done by killing and so on and so on. All that, and he was a very, very pure devotee and Vaishnava, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he did everything as it was written in the Shastras, in the everything that he knew was proper to behave, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, he got to go through a test.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wonder is, why did he need to go through a test still in the end, and to make him to believe that all the Duryodhana and all of them are in the good place and his family are in the bad place? I understand it was test, but still he needs to go through test. Why did he need to go through test when he did everything according whatever it was, principle was, Shastra and everything? Still he needed to be tested. Can I don't understand that, why he needed to go through that also. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It's a nice question. We can look at your question from different perspectives. One perspective is that Krishna uses his devotees to instruct the world. Just like Prabhupada says, that Arjuna, being a devotee, would not have been in illusion. But Krishna put him in illusion so that the Bhagavad Gita could be spoken. So in the same way, one can see that, Krishna also put Yudhishthira in this perplexing position so that Bhishma Dev could instruct him on the principles of Dharma, as Bhishma Dev did in the 9th chapter of the first canto. That's one point. Secondly, from a devotee's perspective, if we read Yudhishthira's consciousness, he was saying, it's fine, if we fight for Dharma. I know there's no reactions because when a Kshatriya fights for Dharma, there's no reaction. But he's saying here, but I don't think I fought for Dharma. I think I fought so that I could get the kingdom. And I did it because of some selfish motive. This is, in one sense, a devotee is so humble. The devotee always thinks that they are so fallen. Devotees never consider themselves to be great and righteous. The devotee always thinks, I am so fallen, I am so sinful. But Krishna is so merciful. So sometimes when one is extremely humble, as the great Vaishnavas are, they may think like this. They may think like this. And there was a third perspective, which I forgot now. Maybe it'll come later. But there's just two perspectives, Mataji, in answering your question. Dear devotees, that's just my realization. Many realized devotees are on today's forum. I'll encourage you, if you have your own thoughts in answering Mataji's question, please feel free to unmute and share your own realization.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Vijay Krishna Prabhu, you've got your hand up. Would you like to ask a question?
Yes, Dharmendra Prabhu, can you hear me?
We can, Prabhu.
Yes. Oh no! Please go on sharing the text.
Okay.
If you can. Yes, thank you very much. You're most kind. Vrindavan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. More or less at the middle of this translation, we find the following blessing, quote, one will become expert in the activities of the senses, close quote. So my question would be, what is the meaning of becoming expert in the activities of the senses? That would be my question.
Nice question, Prabhu. Again, it's two perspectives which we spoke about. Firstly, a sense enjoyer is a very expert in enjoying the senses. They just know to eat fine cuisine, to dress finely, to enjoy with the opposite sex in a way. So one perspective is become expert in the activities of the senses, right, from a materialistic point of view. And the other perspective, which is a higher understanding, which Mamta Mataji was talking about, the most expert way to use the senses is to use it in the service of Krishna. Like, the devotees are becoming very expert in decorating Radha Krishna in a beautiful way. So with their eyes, they can see the beauty of Krishna. The devotees are very expert in using the tongue to glorify Krishna. They're very expert in using the ears to hear about Krishna. So two perspectives, we can look at that. One is the perspective of a devotee, and one is the perspective of a materialistic person. A materialistic person is being told this to attract them to hear this katha on every festival day, and they'll get purified. And the devotee is encouraged to hear this katha because they'll become more and more expert in serving Krishna with their senses. Does that make sense, Prabhu?
Oh, completely, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? If you wish to ask, kindly unmute. Indra Mataji, you were.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We can accept my humble obeisances, O good Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, thank you so much for this nice explanation on this chapter. Maybe I have a point to go back to the Mataji's question. Maybe Krishna wanted to glorify his devotee, Bhishmadev. That's why he took Yudhishthira there, so that Bhishmadev could give the knowledge to Yudhishthira Maharaj, so that he could rule properly, because he was very old and he had the experience. That is my point of view, Prabhuji. I don't know if it makes sense.
It makes sense. I was thinking of that and I couldn't remember it, but you reminded me now.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, in general, we see the Srimad Bhagavatam is full of Shruti Phala. All the chapters have got their own Shruti Phala, right? We can start from the beginning. In any of them, we can see if we read the story of Gokarna and Dundakari, our ancestors will be satisfied. The Pandavas, when they're living, we can develop the qualities to surrender to the Lord, and the praise of the demigods. We gave one the mystic powers. Like this, it goes whole Bhagavatam. Now, one question is that I have always asked on this platform also, but I haven't got a satisfactory answer. When you say that our sins will be eradicated, but then many devotees say that no, we will have to continuously pay for the sin, that we will not get liberated from the sin. So how do you take that? I hope you understand my question, Prabhuji.
Yes, I also heard this many a time, where we hear statements that by chanting the holy name, all our sins are gone. And at the same time, a devotee, the verse Tate Anukampam Susushikshmana, it is said there, Lord Brahma is saying that a devotee who lives his life, seeing all the sufferings simply as a reaction of his own sinful activities, he becomes the rightful inheritor of the kingdom of God. An explanation I heard is something called Krishna karma. That Krishna takes control of a devotee's karma. And Krishna employs it in a way for the ultimate benefit of a devotee. It's not like ordinary suffering. It's not like ordinary karma. But it's something, in one way we could say it's Krishna's intervention to purify us. Ultimately Krishna wants to see us purified. And suffering purifies us. If everything is going smooth, hunky-dory, no problems, we become complacent. But when we go through tribulations and we go through suffering, that purifies us and that helps us to advance. So in one sense, yes, there is some sinful reaction, which Krishna is taking it and engaging, but it's not like ordinary sinful reaction. It's of a completely different nature, with Krishna's intervention, with Krishna's engagement for our purification and advancement. That's my understanding, Mataji, but I don't know if it's...
So another question may arise from your answer. So should we stop our devotional service or not? Because already Krishna is using our karma, right? Just to make us suffer in a way, right? So easy, because when we say we are doing the Tulsi Arati, Yani Kani Chapa Pani Brahma Hatya, if we do the Parikrama of Tulsi Maharani, even killing a Brahman, our sins are eradicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, Prabhuji. I keep thinking
Well,
about this.
from a devotee's perspective, we are not performing devotional service to become free of sinful reactions. We are performing devotional service for the pleasure of Krishna. We don't care, as Brahma, Lord Brahma is saying, Tate nukampam shushishikshamano, that, a devotee is thinking, let me suffer, I'm such a sinful person. But I am only concerned about Krishna's pleasure. I am performing devotional service for Krishna's pleasure. So even if Krishna tells a devotee tomorrow, sorry, I'm stopping taking any sinful reactions. But you're chanting, you're doing devotional service, no more are you going to get benefit of removing your sins. They're all going to be there and you'll have to suffer. A devotee will say, tough luck, Krishna, then this is a bad deal. I'm leaving devotional service. No, a devotee never thinks like that. The devotee thinks, I'll suffer. I'm only performing this devotional service, Krishna, because of love for you and for your pleasure. So it's okay, Krishna, if you change the rules of the game. I don't mind. Let me suffer. But I will continue to try to please you and give you pleasure. So devotee, there's no question of stopping devotional service.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I was asking on some other ones before this question.
Yes, I know.
I had I had this discussion.
I know you understand that, Mataji. That's the nature of a devotee. A devotee asks for
Thank you.
this.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Geeta Gama Mataji, would you like to ask your question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I just wanted to share, Prabhu, I had asked the similar question to one of the speeches when advanced devotee when they were giving at that time. As far as I remember, the sins are considered as the karma, like you have expressed it earlier in the beginning, manifested and unmanifested. So some of the karma and the sinful reactions are manifested. So when we do the Krishna takes over and when we get initiated and things like that, all those sins are removed, that is taken care of. But other sinful reactions, when it is manifested time and again, because it is unraveling, it's like in a big bag, it is coming out, and whenever it comes out, we are chanting, and when we do the chanting, even without any expectation, those sinful reactions will be taken care of. That's what they had explained, Prabhuji. Maybe if I have not said it properly, I'm sorry, but that's what I just wanted to share it with the group. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Girdulali Mataji, would you like to ask your question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just heard in a lecture that even like Srila Prabhupada, he said that praying that, oh Krishna, please don't take away this privilege of struggling for you. I want to struggle for you, like you were saying. So I thought that this point is going with the, like you are sharing. So I heard in the lecture that, so I thought to share this point with you, Prabhuji.
Very nice point, Mataji.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a very important point. Thank you for sharing.
And Sadevi Mataji, would you like to?
Yes, please. I try to talk to a person, a woman, that I'm trying to talk about Krishna consciousness and so on. This woman has gone through many difficulties. From 3 years old, she has been abused and tortured by all of her family. And when I'm talking to her about, because I have heard so many times within the Krishna consciousness that you do with love. It's just you do with love. When you do your devotional service, just you do it with love. When you chant, just you do it with love. When I heard this so many times, and I have mentioned for her, and she said, "What is love?" Because I have never learned about love because I have been abused from 3 years old, tortured very, very, very long, and I have never learned anything about love, compassion, protection of the family, and so on and so on. She's not bitter. She's not bitter at all, and she still have her faith in Supreme Lord. She has it, but when it comes to say that about love, she says, when I have not learned myself, how do I know what love is? How do I know how to love? I don't know how to love because I have never learned about it. I don't know what is love. What would you answer to her? Please, thank you.
Yeah, the fact that we have not experienced love does not mean that love is not there. We understand from our Shastras that it's the closest thing we can ever possibly find to love is in this material world is the love of a mother to the child. But even mothers today, and this person probably our own parents and mother was engaged, but it doesn't mean that love is not there. Love is inherent in the soul. Krishna is the embodiment of love. So you can tell her that, we understand that she's not experienced love, but it does not mean it's not there. You can tell her that, our wisdom literature tells us that the highest form of love we can experience is the love exchange between the soul and the Supreme Soul, Krishna. And you can encourage her to try to connect with that love through the process of bhakti by performing devotional service to Krishna. Krishna will reciprocate. And, you can only know about love is when you experience it. And by performing devotional service, she will experience that love. So she has to just try it, Mataji. She has to try engaging in devotional service with an open heart. And, that heart will open up and she will experience it and she will